Howdy y'all, I'm Wayne from Dallas, Texas, home of this statue of cattle roaming downtown Dallas. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tourist trap. That is for tourists to take pictures of. So, today this video is going to be a little bit different. I want to get into a little bit about my story. And maybe why I'm doing this, and who am I, and what do I want to accomplish with this, and a little bit about just me, myself, personally. So I was talking with Adam in some of the comments, and he had mentioned that maybe I have roots there. And what he didn't know is that I certainly do have roots in England, and that's part of the fascination that I've always had with your country. Now, I can't really share my surname because I just don't think that would be a smart thing to do on a YouTube. But my last name is an English last name, and I've done some research on it. It's not a very common name here in the U.S., so it's not like Smith, which I believe is also an English name, but it is an English name. I often have to spell it for people, so I know for a fact, like, it's not common. I haven't met anyone else with my last name, but I do know there are a few because you can see them occasionally. I see the name. So I've done some research on my last name, and it does come from most probably Surrey, England. And so today I'm going to react to a video on that area. Now, I've known this for a while. Now, in America, as you know, just because our last name might be from a certain country, we're all still just mutts. We're just mixes. Now, tons of us do have descendants from England. We're a country that was, colonized by the English. So a lot of us have that heritage. Now, if I go back a little bit more, my last name is obviously my dad's, my grandfather's last name. And if I look onto my mother's side, her last name is a German last name. But her grandparents' last name is a name that definitely comes from England. So I've got multiple mixtures of England in my heritage. So I guess I've always fascinated myself with the country. I definitely always wanted to learn a little bit more about Surrey. Now, I also know that my last name, because I was doing some research for this video, is pretty common currently in Kent, Margate, Kent. It's also pretty common nowadays in Horsham, West Sussex, as well as London. So if I came to those areas with my last name, I might run across somebody else with the last name for the first time in my life. I might not stick out because of my last name. I don't think I'll be mistaken for English. But that's part of my fascination, so why am I doing this? Well, a couple of things. I'm journeying to England as soon as I can, and I wanted to document this. I decided to try to learn everything I could about the country, and I decided to document it, and if I'm honest, didn't think anybody would watch it. By the way, I've just gotten a lot more subscribers. I want to thank all of you. I've been trying to, stay in the comments. They're already getting away from me. I'm going to have to not be able to see as much as I was before. But I have chatted with some of you, and I just want to thank you for all your comments, likes, and subscriptions. But like I say, I'm just, I guess the word for it is an Anglophile. And I wanted to start this channel and just learn all that I could. And I knew that if I did it in this type of way, that the information would stick. Now, there's a stereotype that Americans don't know much about the rest of the world, but I like to think that maybe that's not true about me. always read a lot, and I've always been interested in other places and geographies. So now I'm going to get a little bit more into who am I. So, excuse me. I'm 56 years old, raised up here in Dallas, Texas. Raised up in Texas. Currently living in Dallas, Texas. Now, I saw another comment where, and I can't remember, I'm sorry, what the name was, and I couldn't find it when I started looking for it. But someone had commented that she ran into a Texan and says, well, he'd never left the state of Texas and he was proud about it. Now, I know some folks that would say this. Matter of fact, I got a friend, if you've ever seen King of the Hill, sounds just like Boomhauer. So for other folks, he's pretty hard to understand. But I could see that buddy of mine saying that. Now, I could also tell you this. Deep down, he probably doesn't mean that. He just never got the chance to leave. It's a big state. And that's just something that some folks say. Now, I am not that type of Texan. So even though I was raised up here, I moved around throughout my life, and I've ended up back here. So overall, I've lived in 13 states, plus Washington, D.C., which I don't know how many of you realize, but Washington, our capital city, is not in a state. It's in the District of Columbia, and so that doesn't count as a state if you live there. So I've lived in 13 states before I've come back to Texas. I had a traveling job for a while, and I just moved around for various different reasons. So that means I've been able to see a lot of the U.S. Now, I've visited 32 states. So coast to coast, I've been to all but 18 of our states. And I love to travel. I've been outside the U.S. a couple times, Canada, Mexico. I don't know if those count. Never got to Europe, and I definitely want to get there. So I'm telling you a little bit about myself is that I haven't always been just stuck here in Texas. I've lived in different places. My accent's maybe pretty Texan, but I think it comes and goes maybe, I don't know. Now, as far as my upbringing, I grew up in small towns and lived in several different small towns in several different regions of Texas. So, and then in my older years, right around the end of my schooling, I moved to a big city. So it's a different, I just got a very background from so many different things. I have two older brothers who are very country, and I grew up doing the things that maybe old country Texas boys would do. And then I experienced life a little more and got to big cities and got to travel and expanded my horizons. And well, I'd say I'm not a lot like my older brothers, but I might sound like them. Either way. So what I've been doing most of my life is I've been an entrepreneur and in a blue-collar industry. And I still work physically every single day, even though I own my own business. And well, I'm tired. So I started this channel to document what I was going to do. And to see, like, hey, if possible, maybe I could, fingers crossed, one day not have to get up every morning and go toil away with the physical pain that gives every night. So, and I would love to, maybe in the future, move to England. I'm going to watch this video about Surrey today and seeing as where that's most likely where my ancestors have come from. Maybe I'd love to move there one day. I definitely can't wait to come and visit and see your city. I guess the other thing, I have been in the comments quite a lot, and it's been fun chatting with some of you. I got to know a few of you by first name. Got some great suggestions for videos. And I do want this place to just, hopefully we can just all have fun here. I see we got a lot of differences between one another, and As far as things like politics, I'm not going to do videos on anything like that or talk about like that. And it'd be great if that wasn't in the comments. And if there could just be a place for like family and community where we could all get along, that would be awesome. I'd love that in the comments. You know, I think that if any of us, regardless of what our views might be, sat down and shared a pint with one another, we'd more than likely get along. And I'd like for this channel to be a channel like that, a place like that. Now, some of the comments are maybe making fun of me. There's this one here from Alan that I found hilarious. And let me tell you, I think he pretty much nailed the description of this channel. So I'm fair game. Take, you know, say whatever you want about me, but just everybody else, if you could just get along. But yeah, I feel like I owe a thank you to Alan, because, you know, I believe he said that I had a mumbly drawl, and I mean, I'm guilty on all counts of what he said. So if you want more of that, then stay tuned. I got a lot more of that coming. Now, he also mentioned my hat, and I will just explain this once, just so you know. I normally wear hats, and the reason why is because my hair is unruly and unkempt, and it is curly, and you know, I wash it all the time. I just washed it just now, but you know, I just throw on a hat because, you know, I'm Wayne, the perpetual bad hair day guy. So that's my thing. So just, you know, get used to seeing me in a hat probably most of the time. Now, I guess just want to sum up and get to this video, but you know, I love the UK. I love your scenery, your culture, your history, which I'm going to do a video soon about some of the history of the UK. I love your people. A couple of people in the comments have referred to me as mate, and I think that's really endearing. Someone else, I've seen a couple of people refer to me and wish me well as old son. That's not one I've heard before, but I think that's also really endearing. And so I just like the people there. I think we have more in common than we don't have in common. Sometimes we focus on what we don't have in common, but the truth is, I think English, from the U.S., you know, we're all just people. And I like the people there. I like the places there. And there's so many things that we wouldn't have here in the U.S. if it weren't for England. I recognize that. I mean, myself included wouldn't be born if it wasn't for England. I was talking to one of the guys in the comments about apples and one of the apple cider videos I put up, and he was telling me how apples came from England. Well, sure. I mean, a million things we have here, we were colonized by English folks, and they brought over things, and you know, the references as American as apple pie. He had been mentioning that England invented the apple pie, and I think that's true of a lot of things we have here. If it weren't for England, we wouldn't have it. I was requested to do a video on inventions that come from the UK, and I've got that video coming soon, so keep an eye out for that. And now I'm just going to say that I have had a lot of requests for videos in the comments, but now the comments are getting so large I can't hardly keep up. I'll put up my link here to my Buy Me a Coffee link, and you can go there. There's also a link in the video description and also in my page description. You can go there if you want to get a video requested or just support my channel and donate even the tiniest of amounts. if you go there and request a video, it will frontline it because I'll see it there. I don't know if I'm going to see them all in the comments. Now, I have been noting when someone tells me, hey, I'm from this area, I've been writing down when I see that area and who they are, and I want to do a video on that area. You'll see in my channel, I'm going to focus on mostly places, culture, and food. Now, that leads me to the other thing. I'm a big foodie and I like to cook. And let's see here. I believe Phil sent me a recipe for Yorkshire pudding. Now, that's another thing. It's Yorkshire. You know, if you want to make fun of me in the comments, I'm game for that, because I can't stop saying Shire. It's sure, as I've been seeing in the comments. And then I made the fatal mistake of saying blood pudding, which is a common thing we say in the U.S., but I did know that it is black pudding in the U.K., and that is all fair game. You go ahead and blast me for anything like that in the comments. I actually find it amusing, and hey, I learned that way, and that's what I'm here to do. But so Phil sent me a recipe for Yorkshire pudding, and I've never had it, and it definitely looked like a recipe I could make. So if you want to see me maybe cook some Yorkshire pudding, if I get a few buy me coffees saying that, then I'll make a video of me cooking some English foods. But now let's just let's get into Surrey. I know that was a long video of me talking at the beginning, and that's not normally what I like to do. But I am going to watch this video here about a place where I might just be from. And it's called the Top 10 Prettiest Towns in Surrey. And it's by Alex in Great Britain. And I'll put a link in the description of the video to his original video. And let's get started.
Surrey lies immediately southwest of London. But what are its prettiest towns, you might be wondering? Well, to find out, I visited them all personally, and my conclusions are presented to you in this top 10 list. Note that Greater London is excluded, so towns like Richmond, Kingston-upon-Thames, etc., whilst historically in Surrey, will not be counted. Also, as a disclaimer, this is not a social commentary, nor is it a guide on where's nicest to live. It is merely, for want of another phrase, a beauty contest. So let's get straight to it.
Number 10.
Number 10. In circa 675 AD, the first recorded reference to a settlement named Weigerbrugge was made, literally meaning bridge over the River Wey, or as we today know it, Weybridge.
Weybridge.
From the 13th century, or possibly earlier, a wooden bridge was in place and was used by monks and pilgrims to Chertsey Abbey, around 3 miles away. In 1653, the River Wey navigation opened. The Wey is a tributary of the Thames, which meant that Weybridge, along with other towns all the way to Guildford and later to Godalming by 1764, could do direct trade with London. Okay. In 1848, St James's Church was built, replacing an earlier place of worship in its vicinity. Its architect, John Loughborough Pearson, would later go on to design Truro Cathedral in Cornwall. In short, there are beautiful riverside views in Weybridge, let down by a few urban sprawl-style streets, serving as a reminder to its proximity to London. Number 9. Now this
Number 9. Before we get to that, let's just talk a little bit about that city. Now, I like the architecture that I see in these little towns. Sometimes we mimic stuff like that, but we don't really have the same layout. Obviously, much older little towns and cities here. But I just really, I think it looks so cool. I want to go there so bad. So let's get on to number 9.
Derives from the Isle of Serret, where Serret was likely the original owner of the land used for the site of an abbey, which was founded in 666 AD. The town I'm referring to is Chertsey. The abbey was sacked by the Vikings in the
Chertsey.
870s, not long after their victory at the Battle of Reading in 871. It was rebuilt and subsequently became one of the largest Benedictine abbeys in England, but ultimately suffered the same fate as other monastic buildings in the 1530s with Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries. In the early 12th century, Chertsey was granted its first market charter by Henry I. This was reconfirmed multiple times, first by Henry III in 1249, then by Edward I in 1282, and again by Elizabeth I in 1599. At the heart of the town is St. Peter's Church, with a tower dating back to the 13th and 14th centuries. And another highlight is the Old Town Hall, which was built in the 1850s in the Italianate style. And today the building functions as a bar and restaurant.
Okay, that was number 9. So I like that town. It has I don't know, it seemed like a varied architecture there. Now, mostly what I'm seeing here are these homes or businesses, or some of those businesses, are they homes above the businesses? I don't know exactly what I'm seeing, but let's get on here now to the next one.
At the confluence of the River Thames and the River Colne is a town whose history goes back to Roman times, when the area was called Ad Pontes, meaning at the bridges. Some say it was the first bridge over the Thames upstream from the Roman London Bridge. This town's name derives from an Old English word meaning stone, possibly deriving from a Roman milestone that the Saxons discovered on the London to Silchester route. I'm of course referring to Staines, or Staines upon Thames.
Staines upon Thames.
From the 13th century, a wooden bridge was in use across the River Thames at Staines. The bridge that stands today is a stone arch bridge, opened in 1832 by William IV. From 1864, Staines was a manufacturer of linoleum, an industry which lasted over 100 years and is commemorated by the Roll Out the Lino sculpture on High Street. And yes, Staines is also the hometown of Ali G. In fact, Sacha Baron Cohen's suburban wannabe gangster character gained so much fame that Spelthorne Borough Council decided to rebrand the town as Staines upon Thames in 2011, presumably to distance itself from this association. Number 7.
Okay, that was number 8, Staines upon Thames. Now, I had not heard any of that before. I saw Roundabout there. They're getting more common here too. I wish I knew a little bit more about what they were showing me. I'm just getting some pictures. It looks gorgeous. It looks lovely. I would love to go there and see. But do any of you live here? What is it like living there? How large are these cities? Anyway.
So this town is situated along the River Mole, just north of the Surrey Hills, and immediately adjacent to the M25 motorway, which encompasses Greater London and parts of neighbouring counties. The first recorded reference to this town dates back to 880 AD, when it was known as Leodreden, meaning place where people ride across the river in Old English, or as it's known today, Leatherhead. A market charter was granted in 1248 by Henry III.
Leatherhead.
And a number of medieval buildings feature in the town centre, including Cradler's House, dating all the way back to the 14th century, and the Running Horse Pub, which dates back to 1403. In 1986, the M25 opened, aka the London Orbital Motorway. Leatherhead became Junction 9 and is constantly mentioned in radio traffic reports. But don't let that association fool you. There's much historical charm to the town. Number 6.
All right, number 6. Now, that little town there, I suppose all these towns just have very ancient everything. But, I don't know, maybe my ancestors were around there stomping around in some of those buildings.
Now, according to the Domesday Book of 1086, this settlement was originally named Churchfell, meaning open space by the hill or barrow, The first record of the name it goes by today, though, dates from around the 1190s, meaning Roe Deer Gate, presumably in reference to its proximity to a deer park. I am, of course, referring to Reigate. Following the Norman invasion of
Reigate.
1066, the area comprising Reigate was a manor, which was granted to William de Warenne, a nobleman who fought at the Battle of Hastings. Sometime around the late 11th or early 12th century, the de Warenne family ordered the construction of Reigate Castle, and around the year 1150 they ordered that a town be built just south of the castle, where modern-day Reigate stands to this day. After the English Civil War, the castle was still standing but decayed, and the remains were demolished in 1777. During that same year, the castle grounds were converted into a private garden. This went on to become a public park in 1873 and is accessible via a path
Okay.
just off the High Street. And another distinct landmark of Reigate is the Old Town Hall, dating from 1728. Number 5. Now, it's believed...
Okay, so that was Reigate. Pretty cool little city. I mean, I could see all the shops down there. I suppose you can walk mostly, or do you need to drive around everywhere? I live in a neighborhood here in Dallas where it's walkable. Now, I know that goes against stereotype. Oh, Americans and their cars and their big trucks. And yeah, that's all true stereotypes. But, I moved into this neighborhood because I can walk just 2 blocks over to the store. 5-minute walk. I can be to several different grocery stores, several different restaurants, several different bars, several different little boutique shops, coffee shops. Everything for me is just like a 5-minute walk. So is that true here? You can walk. That's one thing I love, and I'd like to retire in a place where I could do that. I kind of like the looks of that Reigate. Any of you folks live there?
The area where this town stands today has been inhabited since at least Roman times, with coins from the reign of Hadrian having been found here.
Since Roman times.
The town in question is Dorking, and the first record of there being a market here comes from 1240. By Tudor times,
Dorking.
It had become a thriving market town, whilst also transporting produce to London, including the famous 5-clawed Dorking fowl. Geographically, Dorking is surrounded on 3 sides by the Surrey Hills, a designated area of outstanding natural beauty. Of particular note is Box Hill, which is popular with London day trippers. The River Mole runs northeast of the town, whilst a tributary, Pip Brook, flows roughly parallel to the High Street. Speaking of which, the High Street is lined with several distinctive buildings and helps to elevate Dorking to a top 5 spot on this list. Just don't mention the complex trio of railway stations spread miles apart from each other. Dorking is, of course, the birthplace of none other than Laurence Olivier. Number 4.
Okay, that one was Dorking. Now, he keeps mentioning Surrey Hills. Is that an area that is just a nature area that's nearby? Do you go there? Because that's very appealing to me. If there's some place where I can hike or just be outdoors in nature, I love that kind of thing. So here we are, moving on to the next one. But Dorking looked very interesting.
This town's name derives from Godhelm's Ingus, meaning people of
4.
Godhelm. One of its first recorded mentions dates back to 899 AD in Alfred the Great's will, where he gifted to his nephew Athelwold the town, namely Godalming. The first sight of Godalming upon approaching is the distinctive spire of St. Peter and St. Paul's Church, dating back to the 12th century. This medieval market town has been home to many trades, including wool, leather, and paper making. It also became a staging post on the London to Portsmouth route around the 18th century, and is name-checked by none other than Portsmouth's own Charles Dickens, specifically from Nicholas Nickleby. Quote, "To Godalming they came at last, and here they bargained for 2 humble beds and slept soundly." Another architectural highlight is the Regency-era Old Town Hall, dating from 1814, nicknamed the Pepper Pot. Godalming is the hometown of Aldous Huxley, who would go on to write the iconic novel Brave New World. It's also home to Charterhouse Public School, which became the origin for none other than the band Genesis in 1967. Founding members Peter Gabriel, Mike Rutherford and Tony Banks all met up here, and would later team up with Londoners Phil Collins and Steve Hackett, and the rest is history. Number 3.
Okay, that town had a pretty big literary historical authors that lived there. That's also interesting to me. I'm a big fan of authors and reading and English lit.
Lying on the River Wey in the far west of Surrey, the town of Farnham is overlooked by a castle to its north. Built in the 12th century by the grandson of William the Conqueror, its keep was partially dismantled by parliamentarians following the Civil War, although the castle and adjoining Bishop's Palace had been home to the Bishops of Winchester right up until the early 20th century. In the 17th century, Farnham became a prosperous market town, producing greenware pottery, wool, cloth and wheat. And a handful of timber-framed buildings along West Street and the Borough hark back to this era. And on the whole, Farnham boasts an impressive array of listed buildings. Number 2. At the very southwestern edge of Surrey, just north of the South Downs and south of the...
Oh, sorry, it went on to number 2. I meant to stop it. That city was gorgeous. I was really into that there for a minute, but I love the way these all look. These look like places I would love to live. So now, here we go. Next one.
Surrey Hills is the town of Haslemere. And of all the towns on this list, it is the furthest from London, both in geography and in spirit,
Haslemere,
with a distinct lack of urbanisation. A series of watermills was established here in the medieval era, as the town became a producer of wool and silk as cottage industries. Architecturally, the town has an understated and unspoilt elegance, with a series of Georgian buildings, including the Town Hall, dating from 1814. To live in Haslemere isn't cheap though. Its postcode, GU27, is the third most expensive Surrey postcode outside of the M25, just behind Virginia Water and Windlesham. Number 1.
Okay, before they get to number 1 here, that one was called Haslemere. Now it said it was the least urban, or maybe farthest from London, and it sounded like he was saying it was kind of pricey to live there. I get that. Where you live, I mean, in Texas for sure, where you live can make all the difference. Where I live is pretty expensive because of what I was saying before. It's very walkable. It's a desirable location. But if I moved an hour away, I could pay half as much. It's just location, right? So is that just a sought after location there? It's Haslemere. Does anybody live there? But are the prices too high? Because it kind of sounded really nice. Now, we're about to do number 1. I wish that I even had a guess, but I haven't heard of any of these places. So I could never be able to guess. But let me know if you live in any of these places. And if you do, which one's your preference?
And the number 1 spot for prettiest town in Surrey goes to the county town itself, Guildford, with a history that goes all the way back to the 10th
I actually have heard of this.
When a royal mint was established here. A Norman castle was built.
That kind of makes me mad, because if I'd have taken a guess, if I'd have really thought about it, I could probably only name one place in Surrey, and it's Guildford. It's most likely that I maybe have ancestors from Guildford. And that's cool. It's number 1.
Later replaced by a stone castle built by Henry III, which became one of his royal residences. The castle's grounds were open to the public in the 1880s and can be explored free of charge to this day. As for the town itself, it boasts one of the prettiest high streets of any medium to large sized town
Wow.
in the country. Highlights include the magnificent Guildhall, built circa 1550, remoulded in 1683, complete with its projecting clock, finished with 23.5 carat English gold leaf applied by
Wow.
hand. And how many town centres can boast that? Also, in 1974, a local band called the Guildford Stranglers formed here, or as they were eventually known, the Stranglers. And those are my picks for prettiest towns in Surrey. Do you agree? Disagree? By all means, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and feel free to tap that like button. And in the meantime, you can also check out my flagship channel.
Okay, that was really cool video. I saw in Guildford there at the end that just, I mean, in all of them, people are just walking around, even though I do see cars. It looks like these are just very walkable places, right? So, like, can you just walk down and get all your groceries that you need, or you got a pharmacy nearby that's just all in the same area, just walking distance. This is really appealing to me. So it kind of looked like those little areas and cities are like that, and it's kind of cool for me to actually, although I've maybe seen some pictures and things, and I knew where Surrey was, and I'd heard of that Guildford. That was the #1 prettiest town. I never really looked at it that close, so now I have a much better understanding. So until next time, if you get a minute, like and subscribe. Visit my Buy Me a Coffee if you'd like to, but the best way to support the channel is really just to like and subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you on the next video. Bye.